Okay. The three of us are back finally.
Yo, can I make a cartoon recommendation for
Yeah.
fathers out there? If you're not already watching this cartoon with your kids, Bluey. Did you guys watch that, or do you watch it?
Nah,
We
never
don't
heard of it.
anymore, but we used to.
It's great, man. I love it.
Did you see Karma's World though on
Yeah,
Netflix?
it's dope.
Pretty fire. So I would say Bluey's alright, but like Karma's World, I feel like we should give a
Okay,
little.
I'm just talking about the network shit that's out there that I have to
Got you.
contend with.
Flip-
And you haven't,
flipping
and
through
I
the
have
channels?
a feeling you haven't watched it in a while because
Been a
yo,
while.
the pops and the stories that they tell are very, very like relatable.
Oh, okay.
It's not like cookie cutter cartoon family. Like, nah, it's very relatable stuff that they deal with, and then they have the siblings. So, and then it's very relatable to me and my two kids and stuff like that, and the ages and all that. It's pretty cool. So I recommend anybody out there besides Karma's World.
You mean
check out.
in addition to? Yeah.
Right.
I agree with that.
So now, Manny, let's get into your fiasco that happened.
It is a fucking fiasco. So long story short, I have currently still, I believe, COVID-19. So I was one of the lucky breakthrough cases after being fully vaccinated for quite a while.
Wouldn't that be called COVID-20 then?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm racking up numbers here. So yeah, probably. So I was at a conference for work, a fully vaccinated conference. So granted, that doesn't mean, put your guard down, but
Anything at this point.
yeah, but that's where I believe I got it. So I was there for one day. It was in New York. It wasn't anywhere far. I didn't have to travel too much, and it seems like that's where I caught it. So I didn't obviously I didn't know for a couple of days. And then one day, like full out cold hits, and I'm thinking it's a cold. Like it was literally cold symptoms. It's like sniffles, sneezing, runny nose, no pain, no aches, none of that stuff that I thought was common for people who got COVID. And then got tested because I was expecting to have family come over that weekend. So I got tested just to be sure. And I get the call the following day after I took the PCR. And I'm like, oh, yeah, hi. It's fully expecting them to be like, no, you're negative. And they were like, oh, you're positive. And I'm in the car with my wife.
Oh.
And the lady's on speaker. And she's like, yeah, just letting you know your PCR came back positive. And we're driving. I pulled over. It was like the world just stopped for a second. I'm like, fuck, now what do I literally picked up my mask and put it on that moment next to my wife. And I was like, okay, thank you. And I just hung up. Like, I was like, I don't know what the fuck else to say. Like, I got this shit. Now it's like control, like mission control. Like, how do we make sure we mitigate the risk associated with me? So we went and got tested. So we went and got a home test to double check. And that came back positive. My shit was like vibrant. My shit was like, beep, 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 beep. You motherfucker, you got this shit heavy right now.
Which text, the Binax now? Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that one. And then we got it for everybody. Like it was like a limit of 2. We took all of them shits that they had at the Walgreens and tested everybody in our house. So everybody came back negative. Thank God, except me. So we just put me basically in quarantine. So what we've done, it's like a pseudo quarantine. I'm in the basement most of the day. And when I'm leaving the basement, I have my mask on. If I'm on the floor, with everybody else, they have their mask on. And I wipe everything down with alcohol after I, use the bathroom or whatever. But thankfully, I haven't felt, I can't say I felt bad. I have a consistent, like sniffly sort of feeling in my nostrils. And when I like inhale pretty rapidly, like it'll feel like a slight little burn. That's the extent of it. But my sense of smell and taste have diminished by like 75%. So yeah, we had a whole drama. Let me just get into it real fast. I think this was the silver lining for me catching COVID. So I could have done a lot better being smart about shit, right? At that conference, I should have had my mask on 100% of the time. I didn't. Bringing that into my house, I felt, a pretty strong sense of guilt, right? And then that upended, changed radically my kid's life. And that was leading it was like a few days before Halloween. So now that affects them. I had to pull out my two youngest from school. Now they're in quarantine with me basically for 10 days until everything comes back negative, which they have never tested positive, but the precaution is the way it is for the school system here. But my oldest she's busting her ass as a freshman in high school. Everything's a lot harder for her education wise. So she really is working hard. So Halloween was like the championship for that week for her, right? And this happens. She was like stressed out. And she broke down and started crying. We were having a conversation Halloween morning. And she was like, I can't believe this. Like, not mad at me, but mad at the situation and how it affects her ability to go be with her friends trick-or-treating that evening and doing all that. And so my relationship with my eldest daughter is a fun one, but I can't say it's ever been like a really affectionate or emotional one, even though we show each other affection, but it's like, it's kind of like asshole humor with each other versus like huggy, lovey, cuddly. Like it's not necessarily like that. And she's really opposed to like sharing how she feels. Like that's like she avoids conversations around emotion all the time. So this was one of those conversations where I just said, yo, let me sit back and like let her vent. And I was like, yo, if you're pissed at me, this is a perfect opportunity for you to express that. Because you should be. Like I fucked up. And I'm terribly sorry that this is affecting you like this. But I want you to know, like, this is completely safe for you to talk about. We're not going to get mad at you if you're expressing how pissed you are. It's okay. And so she started to like open up, and she couldn't really get a full word out. So my wife and I are like, helping her speak. Like, do you mean this and that and that? And at the end of it all, like, we got to a place where, she was real thankful for the conversation and something that she would never allow me to do willingly. I asked her, do you want a hug? And she said, yes. And that shit blew me away. I was like, she would never under any circumstance accept a hug. Like me asking, she would never. I have to like steal hugs. And so that right there, I was like, you know what? This sucks, but I'm grateful that we're going through this because it allowed us to grow as a family. And she now feels a little bit more safe and comfortable opening up.
Do you really think you fucked up though? I don't know if
I don't think you fucked up
because like you got to live. I mean, you've got to work. You've got to be able to maneuver and do your thing at the same time.
I'm not like bashing myself over it. Like, right. But at the same time, like we were indoors, right? So like I went to a conference a few months ago. It was in Miami. It was outdoors. The setup was a lot safer, given the circumstances.
And for what you think
right. Right, exactly. And then this one was indoors, which automatically should be a red flag. Like, yo, all right, take the additional precaution, wear a mask. No one was. All right, everybody was vaccinated, but we know that's not 100% foolproof, right? So that's why I say, like, fuck, I could have taken an additional step, and I chose not to.
So if you were in a conference now after this, and everybody in there is not, isn't wearing a mask, you're going to wear a mask?
It's a very good question, but a very difficult one to answer. Because
that's tough, man.
You know how we always say, like, us being guys, right? Like,
I don't give a fuck what anyone says.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck what anyone says. But the reality is when you're in that room and everybody else is doing one thing that doesn't seem crazy, you look like the herb. You're like, nah, I'm not trying to be a herb right now. Like, that's why.
And then even worse is that it's your work environment. So let's just say you're trying to like network and you're talking. They're like, "What'd you say? What'd you say?"
Exactly.
Take off the mask.
Yeah, and then you're the weirdo, right? Like, but I will say this though, I I have to believe that if I wasn't vaccinated, this shit would have hit me a lot harder. Like the worst I felt is that one day where I felt like I had a cold, and it wasn't even like a strong cold. It was just cold symptoms. So I don't know. That to me gave me even more like shit. I'm glad I did this when I did, because I feel like it would have been gone. One of my relatives recently got it. He's a young guy. This dude couldn't get out of bed for a good week and change. And my worst day was I had to blow some tissues. So, yeah. But all is well. Just waiting this thing out. I got a few days.
When do the kids go back to school?
Next week, Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah. So
and your eldest, she didn't have to stay out from school?
That's the interesting thing. So she's vaccinated. She didn't have any symptoms. The testing we did was negative. So all those things, well, primarily the Board of Ed cared about her being vaccinated and not showing symptoms. So they said she's fine. She just needs to take a PCR 5 days out.
Okay.
I don't really understand how that all works, but we did. It came back negative again. So our home tests were all negative for her, but then the PCR was also negative. So she's been good. We've just had her kind of isolated so that she doesn't get affected, and the two younger ones as well.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, bro. But yo, thank God, yo, we're all good.
Thankfully.
There's a lot of people that aren't nearly as lucky as we are. So we're real cognizant of that.
Was your wife freaking out at first, or was she cool about it?
Nah, man. And that's the thing. Like, I had a scare early in COVID, and we were freaked out. You remember, I was talking.
Yeah.
She was kind of like, yo, it is what it is. Like, we just got to get through it. That was it. Times we live in, B.
Yeah.
Well, look at the Disney in Shanghai.
That was wow.
That's crazy, bro. They would really shut down for one person.
Yeah, it was like 100,000 people, was it?
30,000? No, 30,000. Yeah.
So wait, someone was there who had COVID. Now they shut the whole thing down?
They shut the whole Disney down, and they made everybody, they quarantined them in the park, and one by one tested them as they left. Because, the Chinese government, that's the way they were handling that.
But how do you feel about, like, it's extreme. Let's not get it twisted. But I almost applaud shit like that. As uncomfortable and inconvenient as it is, you're controlling the situation pretty effectively when you do shit like that. We wouldn't stand for it in this country.
I mean,
well, depends what state you're in.
Yeah. I think I could see California doing something like that potentially.
What do you mean? They do it every day. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Jay was telling me, my homie Jay Havana was saying that he went to a game, like a football game or something, and they were like, he didn't take his vaccination card, and they would
not letting him in. Yeah.
Wait, you actually have to have the card itself physically?
You can either the card or a photo, but you have to have your ID with it.
Right.
So it's certain parts of, I was up in the Bay, and they were strictly enforcing almost everywhere I walked into. It was ID card, like, it was crazy.
New York is like that. Anywhere you try to sit down and eat or what have you, like, you better have your picture and your ID.
And just really quick, because I know, we might be lighthearted or have some kind of humor, or maybe not humor, but when we talk about the restrictions and the mask and all that, and sometimes it's hard for us individually to know how serious the pandemic is, because it just, even though people that have passed, it just it doesn't feel like, so gloom and doom. But and I don't want to put his business out there, but I feel like, just so that people understand, like, Hazardous Sounds, who's the engineer and Drink Champs, his father passed away recently. COVID.
Yeah, rest in peace, man.
Yeah, rest in peace. And just talking to him, I remember when his dad went into the hospital, and I was like, nah, man, he's gonna be fine, dude. Like, he's gonna be fine. Within, like, I think 2 weeks or a week or something, very short period of time, he passed away. And what he told me really impacted me. He was like, man, under a month ago, or a few weeks ago, we were in the pool. he was with the grandkids, and we were all, everything was just normal. And then he gets COVID, and then he goes to the hospital, and he doesn't come back. He's like, they can't even. It hasn't really sunk in for them. Yeah. And it's stuff like that, where it's like someone you really know, really close. And we know other people, but this is something that happened more recent. It's just crazy, man, that it's still affecting people that way.
Was his dad vaccinated? Do you know?
So this is where we get into this
without putting his business out there.
No, okay, no. I mean, that is putting his business out
right.
there.
Okay, true.
So, I was like, it's unavoidable now.
Right.
But this is the thing. So this is where we come to that fork in the road where it becomes like, weird with people. He was telling me that one of the things that really sucked is that was one of the first things people would ask.
Yeah.
Instead of just like concentrating on the fact,
right,
the condolences and his, like the family, like they got into that whole like
becomes the separation of like.
It's a good point.
Right. And he was just like super annoyed by it, and and so and it was affecting his mom. That was like a thing that people were harping on.
Yeah, you just bringing that up. I mean, I just feel like we lose sight of the whole fact that, there is a virus out there. People have died from it, whatever your political beliefs and all this other kind of stuff. I think it just muddies the whole scenario. And instead of, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like all the stuff that's going on right now. It just doesn't feel like necessarily everyone's interest is in everyone being safe. It then becomes more of like, I believe this versus what you believe.
Right.
Yeah, you missed the whole point. Like somebody's father passed away.
Yeah.
Have empathy, but
it becomes like data and numbers. Like, oh, you see, I'm right, you're wrong. This is what's going on. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah. Fuck. Anywho, how was Halloween for you guys?
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It wasn't our childhood's Halloween for sure. It's never, I don't think it'll ever be that again for our kids.
What aspect of it you mean?
Like, just trick-or-treating in general, like that whole thing. But what was cool is my neighborhood did like a little, not a block party, but they did like a little party. I guess you could call it a block party. Where they got like a bounce house, and then they had cotton candy and popcorn, and all the neighbors came out, and you could set up tables and have candy to give the kids, and that was cool. That was real cool. That was on the day, that was on Saturday, the day before Halloween. And then on Halloween, we set up like a little station for my daughter to sit there and give candy. And it was only one group of kids that came from one house.
Damn.
And then she wanted to go. So we weren't going to do the trick or treat thing, but then we were like, all right, let's go to, since these kids are going around, there must be somebody giving candy out here. So we just went to the ones that we saw decorations on. And out of 4 or 5 that had decorations, only 2 people answered the door, and 2 or 3, and then the rest had like the candy outside, which I guess we're still in pandemic mode. That seems kind of right. And so, but she loved it. She loved it actually creeped me out. Like, I'm like, I don't want my kid knocking on a stranger's door, a stranger opening the door, her saying trick or treat, and them giving her candy. I don't like that.
Why? You're there.
Do I have to explain why?
I mean, you're there. Like, if she was doing it on her own, I could understand the rule.
I don't give a damn that I'm there. I don't like standing there either. I just think it's mad weird. It's mad creepy. Like, they open and all their air that smells like their house comes at you, and then all their bad juju or whatever. You don't know that's Jeffrey Dahmer giving candy. That's because he has decorations. It makes him seem like he's safe. Like, nah, bro. Like, I don't know. It's just it's weird. Like, I don't know. Back in the days, it was normal, and now I just feel like it's weird, man. Yeah, and back then it probably wasn't even normal either.
I do like the bucket aspect of just having stuff there.
Right.
People coming up.
But she loved it. She loved the knocking and the someone opening the door. She's like, more. I want more of this. And I'm like, oh God. So I'm gonna try to
How many times do we knock before we get Jeffrey Dahmer?
I want to divert to like the zoo next year, or like the mall where we could just go to all the stores or something.
Right.
You're in trouble. She's gonna be looking for that kind of situation every year now.
Yeah, she'll forget by. Well, no, she won't. Well, no, as long as she's saying trick or treat to someone
Yeah.
and walking from station to station, I think. Because last year, through a friend, from the little gym that she would go to, family, they invited us to their neighborhood's trunk or treat that they did in a parking lot, and that was cool. You know, I enjoyed that. That's a little bit, to me, it's safe zone. Like everybody's got their car in an open parking lot. I could see everything pretty. I don't have to get the bad juju air coming out of your house.
Right.
And even the candy part, you guys are not slightly weirded out by your kid eating some candy. I know that they've said that that's an urban myth about the candies being tampered with or whatever.
I mean, it could happen. Like that's very
Right.
possible.
But just in general, just the fact that someone's hands handled some candy and it's given to your child. I don't know. Maybe it's that old school Cuban crap in me. That's like, you don't eat at people's houses. You don't do this. You don't take something from someone else. Like you're going to get all this weird.
I like to let the
vibes and
candy
juju.
sit for a day or two. Like,
I wanted to spray it down with
Yeah.
Lysol, bro.
We're talking about wrapped candy, right?
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but even wrapped, like the chocolate ones, those could be like,
Oh, the kisses. Yeah, the kisses.
or any of
Oh,
that
yeah.
type of
Yeah.
stuff, Like there was one she pulled out that was like a bootleg brand of, so it was, or no, I don't even think it was bootleg. It was Payday, which is not a bootleg brand, but it just looks bootleg. And she's like, "Oh, can I have this?" And I looked at it, I was like, that just looks like 1970s. Like, get that
Yeah.
out of here. Like, no, you're not eating that.
Hey, candy companies, if your labels aren't updated to 2021 standards, EFN is not fucking with you.
Yeah. It's got to look airtight.
Yeah, I don't like it, bro.
Yo, I can imagine.
Wrap it and then
you
wrap it
guys-
again.
I can imagine you guys like analyzing the fucking candy.
No, we didn't. We weren't that crazy. It's just because I don't want to be that guy. But in me, I'm like cringing at her eating.
Well,
the
you're
stuff.
that guy.
Right. And if there's like a no-name weird candy that looked like it comes from, I don't know, another country or something, get out of here with that one.
Yeah.
Chocolate crickets? Oh no, not here.
Los caramelos. No, out of here. That's where I become like a Trump guy when it comes to candy. Build a wall for the candies.
God, I wish we had an animator. That'd be a great little promo animation short. Okay, how about your son? Were you guys skateboarding through the neighborhood?
Nah, just walking, but it was cool. I mean, we didn't have Halloween last year out here. They didn't allow trick or treat. So this year was cool. I actually kind of liked it better because it was a little bit more low key, or maybe just the areas we were around were more low key. I mean, we stayed closer to home, walked to some like adjacent areas, and it's not like every apartment or house had stuff available. So you'd see a couple that were just dark, and then there'd be a house or a place that had all, they did it up for Halloween, and there's people around. So it was good. It was like, it was spaced out. Just didn't feel like it was overwhelming, especially like in these times where it's like, there are too many people around, that kind of stuff. But there's some people who go all out, like hooking up their houses, and just, I mean, that stuff is cool to see.
I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I want to be that house on the block.
Yeah, same. For every season, like Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, like we want to be, we aspire to do that shit too. Because when we
said Thanksgiving, what the hell you gonna do for Thanksgiving, man?
For the Thanksgiving season,
big
bro.
turkeys.
Yeah.
He gets real turkeys and he has them roaming the house.
Right.
Yo, shout out to my homeboy Nick, right? So Nick is an actual neighbor of mine, and we actually went to elementary school. Like we went to school from kindergarten to 8th grade together in the Bronx. And all of a sudden, I see this dude at a Starbucks near where I live now, and it just so happens that he became I could walk to his house. Anyway, so so my eldest goes trick or treating, right, for Halloween, and it's dark out. So my wife and I let her go on her own with her friends, with a couple of her friends. So our neighborhood is good, but still, you still got to be like, I don't know, like I don't trust everybody like that. So I make it, so I go get some pizza, but on my way back, I'm like, yo, let me go patrol the block and see where she's at, and just like creep on her and see if she don't see me. My car is pretty loud color wise, so it's not hard for her to spot me. But so I pull up. I roll by a house. She's coming up the driveway, so I can't see her until I pass the driveway. And she's like, Dad. I'm like, fuck, I'm caught. And my boy Nick's house is not too far from me. So I'm like, so I pull over. She's like, what are you doing here? Like, you fucking interrogating me. And I'm like, nah, I went to go see Nick. Like, I'm going to go stop by Nick's house right quick. And I got COVID, so she knows I'm not like trying to go visit the guy.
Right.
I'm gonna go give Nick COVID real quick.
Right.
So I leave her and then I pull in. I'm like, you should go by, get some candy or whatever. Like making it seem like this was the intention the whole time. So I pull up, I text Nick. I'm like, yo, Nick, I'm out front. So in case your cameras see like some car, like don't freak out. It's me. I'm pulling a stunt because my daughter thinks that I'm, spying on her. I am, but I don't want her to know. So I look at his front door. Yo, he's got like a solar powered lawnmower, like a automatic lawnmower, like it cuts lawn on its own, right? And it's solar powered.
That's safe.
No, it's super dope. But check, so he has
Why,
it.
you didn't answer. Is that safe?
Right.
Very safe. So he has it set up where it's like he decorated it. It looked like a spider crawling on. So he set it to some mode where it knows I'm gonna stay within this area and I'm gonna crawl around basically. And it looked like a spider. So if you're going to go get candy, that shit is out there doing this. So shout out to him for doing the most on Halloween. Like that shit was pretty dope.
Seems a little crazy to have an active blade moving around.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, is it safe?
It is, bro. It is.
So a little kid could be out there, and if they lay down in front of it, they're fine.
It's not gonna touch him. Yeah.
Why?
It's got a million sensors.
Yeah, let's trust those sensors. Let's make sure that
we haven't had a casualty in the neighborhood yet.
All right. Well, still shout out to Nick then. We'll give it to him.
By the way, he's a listener. He loves our podcast. We help him a lot actually with his kids. So thank you for your.
Do we help anybody?
You know what?
Debatable.
So I think we hear often enough on our Instagram. There's people connect with what we talk about. I don't know if we necessarily like help them through a tough time or give them a suggestion that they take seriously or what have you, but just being able to hear the shit that we talk about and we go through is comforting to a lot of people. Right. I think we talked about this. Like we got together talking about this shit because we're like, yo, am I doing this shit right? Like maybe I should consult with people that have kids, right? So for them, I think for a lot of them, we are that.
We should give out your number now so they could call you at any time of the night.
Word. So it's 555 COVID. 555.
He delivers COVID straight to your house if you want it.
Terrible, bro.
Well, gentlemen, I guess about that time, man.
Yeah, we gotta let Manny rest.
Yo, for real.
Yo, feel better, man.
Thank you, guys. Until we meet again.
All right.
Peace.
Later.